Hey everyone, welcome to the Electric Supercar channel. This week we're going to take apart a Tesla motor and make it go in reverse. Let's get to it. So this is a Tesla Model S rear drive unit, and it is kind of the, I'll call it the LS swap of the EV community. The base version is about 450 horsepower. The performance version is about 600 horsepower. And a lot of people are using these in all sorts of applications. There are a few times where it doesn't quite fit how you want it to.
I kind of had the motor over this way, but what we've found is essentially this bit of metal there and that box section there were hitting that piece on the motor and that piece on the motor. And if you follow me over here, you'll see why we flipped it over.
A couple things to consider. One, I have seen some people run it upside down. There are just a few issues, meaning there is a vent plug up top, so you can't just run it upside down, and the, I'll call it the transmission or gear fluid also has a pickup point that is down on the bottom.
Now notice we've got an oil pump. There's an oil pump pickup tube right here. There's a magnet for any metal particles, and then we've got kind of a windage tray to keep the movement of the ring gear from sloshing up the oil that's trying to be picked up by the oil pump.
So if you want to run it upside down, you need to fix those two issues. So today we're going to show you what we have to do to make this be able to run in reverse. All right, I actually did a lot of digging around on the internet and YouTube, and I didn't see anybody that had done this, or at least recorded it, put it out there for how to do a lead swap. So where you swap the leads to have it drive in reverse. And I didn't see any documentation for that, and that's what I'm trying to do. All right, so the motor controller I chose, it controls both the front and rear motor, and it knows kind of the RPMs relative to each other. So it's got a version of traction control, which is actually awesome. Other controllers, you can buy multiple controllers or a controller that control both, but I don't think it does that. So that's why I chose that controller. But this controller does not allow just like a button to say go in reverse. You need to actually do some physical things like switching the AC leads. Let me show you why we need to do that. I'm gonna explain this a way that I know how, but may not exactly be what's going on. So the motor, if you're looking down the barrel of the motor, it's got kind of these windings, and when it sends electricity to one, it'll send it to one phase and then to another and to another. And essentially, as it does that in a clockwise rotation, so like 1, 2, 3, it makes the motor spin that way just because of the magnetic fields and things like that. So if we want it to spin in reverse, we essentially need to swap two of these phases. So if we swap these two, essentially we get this. So it's 1, 3, 2. And you may say, well, does that still give us the right sequence? So if you swap them, you see you get kind of the reverse, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it'll go in reverse. You can do that with any phase lead and it'll give you to the exact opposite sequence. So all we need to do is switch any two. One more thing before we get started, we have a winner to announce. In a video a while back, we did a review on an electric vehicle car charger, and we have a winner to announce, so stay tuned to the very end of this video to hear that announcement. First things first, I'm gonna drain it. The drain plug's right down there. It's an 8mm hex. So I just put the plug back in, switching containers. Note to self, you're gonna need a container bigger than that. And that should be enough. I propped this up unevenly, because if it's flat on the table, the drain point is actually not the lowest point. So I've propped these ones up just a little bit higher on the side so the drain is lowest. I believe it's 1.8 liters is what you need to refill this with. So when you reapply it, it's 28 newton meters. We're gonna come over here to the inverter side. So one of the things I've heard from a lot of people is that there is a wire that runs between the two halves. And when you split it, if you kind of damage that wire, then it's kind of problematic. This one is a 4mm hex. This plastic has kind of two O-rings right here. That's kind of the friction points. This one comes off too, but you just don't want to break it. So again, you don't want to just pull on one side and keep pulling. The tension's going to be right here. So there you go. This is where the screw comes through to hold everything down, but these are kind of your friction points. 13mm socket. So again, these kind of have some O-rings as well. So that once these bolts are out, they just come out, but again, they're a little stuck. So again, just these seals right here. So there are bolts kind of in a circular pattern all the way around this outer housing, around the inverter. So we're gonna take those off. We're gonna slide the inverter cover off. For right now, this is fully suspended. I am gonna keep the table under because when I separate the two halves, the inverter half doesn't have any of the supports or the mounting points. So I do think I found the wire. So it's kind of got some black sheeting on it, but it's right here. And it kind of, the black sheeting kind of ends right here. So then it's this white wire. It's got a whole bunch of zip ties in the various places. So it goes to this plug here on the inverter board. So if I needed to, I could unclip all those zip ties and unplug those. For now, I'm just going to gently separate and see if that's needed. Holding the two halves, there's a whole bunch of bolts, need a 13mm socket. Once all those are undone, there is still kind of a, I'll call it a sealing gasket that you need to kind of pry and hammer loose. Bring the table back over here. Again, so when they split it, this part can be on the table. All right, my little swivel adapter kind of broke. This pin here backed out and kind of got my finger a little bit. If you're like me and need a new tool, I will leave a link in the description for all the tools I use. Here on the, I'll call this the underside of the motor, that is a cover for the 3-phase AC. And basically we need to peel off that sticker, and then there's 3 bolts under there that will actually undo the AC couplings. Starting to budge. All right, so that was kind of in the way of getting these two out. So I left one bolt in right there just in case it's my luck that it would just fall apart where everybody else has to really pry and pry. So I didn't want it to happen while it was just over the ground. So I'm gonna move the table back, take that one off, and then start prying it apart. All right, we're gonna try and find some surfaces that are, I'll say, outside of kind of the ceiling surfaces to try and pry apart. All right, so this, it's kind of cracked everywhere. Just starting to split, so I'm probably gonna lower it just a titch so we don't have a little drop if that comes off. All right, so it's starting to split. We're starting to get a little bit of oil out, just things that didn't quite drain all the way. All right, so there's also gaskets, as you can see. So I wanna make sure we don't lose those and get them all in the right places. So I'll kind of pick those out. We're just about apart. You can kind of see, I think that's ring gear in there, but there are some kind of dowel pins that help align, make sure things go together correctly, and those are not yet separated. Once I got it kind of cracked, I've been trying to use materials that will not kind of damage the aluminum. So I've been going with plastic, and I think we're just about there. Oh yeah, there it goes. So this side is now off, and again, there's a wire that runs back here. So we just want to kind of split it in this direction, see what we're looking at. All right, I think we have a little better access now. So let me show you what we need to do. So back here, these are the phase leads. And in order to run that in reverse, we need to swap 2 of them. I've also never seen anybody take the inverter apart. So I'm just gonna do my best, but I believe I'm gonna take off this plate. I think there's some bolts behind here and then also behind there. So we'll see what bolts I can do and if I can take this apart. So this one fell out. This goes right up here. So I believe I just have to take out all those bolts, and I think this whole inverter can come off. All right, so I believe they're all loose. So I think it now just becomes separating the two halves. Oh yeah, I think it's just coming on. All right, so I think all I need to do is take this one off to get enough access. There we go. All right, so I took these covers off. I thought it might be easiest to replace or make a new bus bar that goes kind of from here to over here, and then this one that just jogs over. However, these are actually kind of soldered or welded on to some circuit boards right here. So I think it's gonna be easiest and best to do this from kind of the other side. And then these are the actual faces that the coolant seals on. So again, it goes in there, comes out there, but it's got sealing faces. So we'll go ahead and clean those up, make sure we get a nice seal when we put it back together. And in order to run that in reverse, we need to swap two of them. So I think these bottom two seem like they've got the most access. We'll see if we can do that. The other thing is this is the oil pump, this kind of black thing here. So you can see kind of where it squirts out and things. That's the one we need to take off and replace with the new one that we got. Come on, dude. There we go. All right, there are 3 T30 bolts that we need to remove. So I thought maybe I could do all this by keeping the ring gear in place, but the oil tubing kind of is on the bottom side. There's kind of this bracket, and there's really just not any room to kind of pinch and get that tubing off while that ring gear is in place. So gonna go ahead and try and take it out. Come on, dude. Just very slowly. It took forever. So all that to get to this one bolt right here that allows us to take this shield off, get better access to the oil tube here, the feed tube. So now that this is off, this will be really easy to work on. This is the screen, the mesh. I probably bent it a little bit, but that's okay. Right here, maybe I'll turn the light, see if you can see that any better. Yeah, you see it a lot better. So right there, there's a magnet, and you can see all those tiny metal shavings. So this kind of just is a collection. Make sure you don't put those shavings back into circulation with the other gear fluid. So I'll clean that up. But basically all I need to do is I need to take this off and then switch out this pump. So there's internal stuff here that we keep, but the shell we're gonna swap out. And that is off. This piece I bought from Felton, used to be called Zero EV. And as I understand it, we want to keep all the same internal pieces, just swap out kind of the body here. Alrighty. So this is what the Tesla one looks like. Whoa, launched it. Okay. right, I think that's ready to go back in. Trying to get all the oil off. And I'm pretty sure they had some on here already, so I'm going to add some more Loctite. You may have to ask someone smarter than me, but I believe why they do this, the geometry in here is to pump, I'll say pump, force fluid through when it's in a forward motion. And so I think they've swapped that around so it will actually pump and force fluid through when it's in a reverse motion. Otherwise, I think you'd always be kind of trying to force fluid the other direction. All right, for the 3-phase leads, I think I'm making an executive decision. So basically we need to swap two. So I've taken these two and tried to cross them. They are copper, but they're pretty rough to try and manhandle. Can't get great access. I'm gonna have to think about this one, but I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably keep them back in place, and I'm going to drill a hole, cut, and actually make bus bars that do the crossing rather than try to just manhandle these. Because I think even if I were able to get them to cross, I think they're gonna be a little bit shorter than this other one. And I think that's gonna cause some problems. All right, this is kind of a moment of not going back. So we're gonna cut these leads so we can bolt on the new ones that kind of do the crossing. Yeah, this is tight quarters. Sorry, I can't get you focused very well, but basically doing a hole in this guy so that we can clamp on a new bus bar that does the switching. So I'm going to do a hole in this one as well. Can you see that? That is a broken drill bit. Let's see if we can get it out and still salvage everything. Okay, so I've 3D printed some of these. These are my makeshift bus bars. I just wanted to kind of put them together, make sure everything will line up before I order them out of copper. All right, there I've got the bolts secure, and these are the mock bus bars here. So I'll probably try to put the motor back together, make sure that these lugs line up. If that looks good, we'll get some made out of copper. I'll definitely need some high voltage, heavy duty sheathing to kind of protect from any sort of abrasion or things, but because we're pretty close here, and any little bumps or rattles, we'll make sure that they're definitely protected. Come on, buddy. So it turned out with that design for the crossover leads, it didn't leave enough space. So there was kind of like, I'll call it 3 sections that have to overlap in that design. So I've got a new design, actually 2 new designs I'm gonna try out that only have 2 sections overlapping. So here is one option. Join one here, which is only 2 pieces thick. One there is 2 pieces thick, and then they cross, which is only 2 pieces thick. And they go into their place, hopefully. Or here's another one. Kind of looks like an H. But again, join here, so it's just 2 pieces thick, join there, 2 pieces thick. And again, they go there. So we'll try both of these and see which one works better. All right, we have this version of the crossover all bolted up. We will try to put the motor together, see if it fits. These are the 3 holes where the phase leads go from the stator to the inverter. And you can see just one of them can't, it just can't. So we'll try the other one. All right, there we are with them crossed. Again, we've got a little space in between, and we've only got just 2 pieces at every spot, so we're not trying to stack 3 thick. So we'll see if this one is able to be assembled. All right, as you can see here, all 3, you can see how the hole fits. So this will be the version we go with. I bought some of this. This is kind of some high voltage cable sheathing. Nice thick fiberglass on the inside and rubber on the outside for abrasion, so this should work really well. So for comparison, this is the one that came with the Tesla, and this is the one I'm putting on. All right, so I've got my bus bars. I'm ready to put things in, but when I put things in and put them together, I do not want to take it back apart. So I'm going to take this opportunity to do some cleanup. I did do some cutting with copper, so there's some copper shavings and things, and just in general, trying to make everything as clean as possible. I've got the two new leads on that cross over, and now I'm just putting on the cable sheathing. Got rid of all the gasket material. All right, I'm just gonna put this on and the main ring gear on before I try and put things together. All right, it is now time to put the ring gear back in. All right, what I'm gonna do is probably what I should have done in the first place, is there's like 6 bolts on the other side here that will kind of release this bearing. Oh yeah, man, with that off, this thing slides so easy. So it's got like this shim. We're gonna just try a kind of rubber mallet. Well, it's down flush. Yeah, I think that's about as far as she goes. So now we'll put it back in. Oh, shh. This is supposed to go before the bearing. Dang it. Got it. All right, second time. This time, I think if I get it like another 1/4 inch, I can start using the threads on the other side to pull it. Because again, it's got a nice, easy fit, but it's so cantilevered heavy on this side, so it's hard to pull it up, get it on the gears, and push it in. I've got it enough that the bolts for this kind of bearing retaining ring are on the other side, so I'm gonna go ahead and start tightening those. Hopefully it'll just kind of pull it all back. So I've got the ring gear back on, I've got the cable sheathing on. Hopefully my terminals with their geometry work, so I'm gonna try to put this back together. Something tells me it's not gonna be easy. All right, after much labor and back and forth, taking things on and off, finally got things in. So you can see kind of the 3 leads starting to come through. The difficulty was trying to cross those 2 leads just where there's not a lot of room. With some laser cutting, some bending, got it to work. Also, the cross section, how it's flat, I ended up kind of chamfering it. That helps it get in easier. So I'll put a little bit of terminal paste on there before we push it all together. And then also got to do some gasket around all of this. I'm using some Permatex gasket maker. So everywhere is just kind of a bead. There's a place around the lead which actually goes inside as well as outside. And then there's already kind of a gasket here as well as, I don't know, there's just like a line gasket. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on everywhere. Just about done putting things back together. And what do I find? A little retention clip there. I'm pretty sure that goes to the pump. And so I've just got to take everything apart, put that back on the pump, and then put it back together. Makes me use swear words. Guys, man, I'm just not very good at this. The gasket sealant has set up enough. I'm gonna go ahead and torque everything to the correct specs. I still need to put all these bolts on for the inverter cover, as well as this plug here. So I'll kind of finish that up, and then that'll be it. All right, it's time to put these bolts back in. comes in. I'm going to highlight a few of the tools I used. I'm going to leave an affiliate link below, so if you buy something, even if it's not one of these tools, you can help this channel out. So obviously just some ratchet wrenches, big and a small. This is a set of the hex drivers. Again, that's very nice, just again adapts to either of those. Some sockets. This is a Torx set. This is a torque wrench, but it's kind of a screwdriver, so kind of for some of the smaller bolts. Long wobble adapter, of course a driver. You got your thread locker and a gasket sealer. I'll leave some affiliate links below. All right, in theory, we've got this thing all wired to go in reverse. So it'll take me probably another month or more to find out if it actually works, but I didn't find anything else really on the internet, so hopefully this can help someone else besides me. Some people were getting mad at me for not calling it an electric vehicle supply equipment. I think everybody just knows it better as a EV charger or electric vehicle charger, but it is an electric vehicle supply equipment, or EVSE. So the winner is Chuck Carroll 9284. So Chuck writes in his comment, where to start with the features: mobility, multiple voltage inputs, OEM style app functionality, and numerous charging safety features. This seems like a great option for any EV builder or driver. So Chuck, let's get in touch. We'll figure out how to get that prize to you. One more thing before we leave, I did request if anybody wanted an electric vehicle built by me that I could actually earn some money that way, maybe keep the channel going. I've got a few people that have contacted me, and I want to show you some of the possible build options. I want to gauge the enthusiasm that people may have for one of these builds. So there is a 91 Lexus ES250, a 2001 Mercury Grand Marquis, a 75 U-Haul truck, we could have fun with that, a 90s Civic two-door coupe, a Nissan 300 ZX. So if you had your pick, would you pick one of these or would you pick something else? Let me know in the comments. That'll do it for this time. See you next time. Oh no. Oh dear. Starting to budge.